can see fair things that look on we did. All of my people holding me out, cause two of my kids. Get it together.
Yo. What's going on, people? This is No Labels Podcast. I am your host, Willie G, man. Look, man, it's a special day. We got the cameraman coming from behind the camera to in front of the camera. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He's been a part of the team, but now he's with us today. I'm gonna let him introduce himself to y'all.
I'm Charles Mays. Some people call me Kodak. Just here to help out with the rest of the family. Hope you guys enjoy the podcast.
Yep. And I got my other co-host over here. You know what I'm saying? Boy, King David.
What's up, everybody? Going on? How's everybody doing today? I'm just grateful we're here with Charles today, man. I can't wait to hear what he has to share to the team.
We got the cameraman. Hey, it's about to be lit. I'm gonna get into it, and we just gonna dive into it. We pretty much done had a podcast before this even started, so we pretty much gonna. There's a lot to talk about, but we just gonna chill first. How y'all doing? And how y'all doing? Period. How y'all doing? Y'all good in life? Anything?
Good, man. I can't complain.
Anything new? Bought any new cars?
No.
Watching any new movies? You know what I'm saying?
Everything's
Yes,
good.
Fred Hampton, the Judas and the Black Messiah. You gotta watch it.
Judas and the Black Messiah. I haven't watched it. I've been hearing. I did listen to the soundtrack. Soundtrack lit. It's like real.
Hustle Hove.
Huh?
Hustle Hove.
Hustle Hove. Yeah. It's lit. I ain't watch. I did watch American Skin. I'm still angry. I haven't watched the Black Judas, Black Messiah. So it's pretty much a lot of triggering movies. You know what I'm saying? That it's triggering, bro. Like this whole thing is triggering. And I mean, so nothing new.
New wise, no, nothing new been going on. Other than GameStop, I guess dropped down a little bit on the stock market a little bit. What else is going on? What's the other movie theater stock they're talking about? AMC. Man, come on, man. Wall Street bets. Let you know. Hey, sometimes payback is sweet. It may not come the way you want it, but it's gonna come.
Yep.
Okay, so now that we got the small talk out the way, we just gonna dive back into what we was talking about. And what we was talking about behind the scenes is I read a post the other day, and David actually hit me with a question last podcast, and David said, "What was your? Can you reword? Cause I don't want to murder you. Can you reword the question?"
So, essentially, the question was, would you be willing to sacrifice time spent with family or family life to become be a victim of or be a martyr for a cause or a calling on your life? Would you go full blown on that cause and go forward and be a martyr and sacrifice that family time, or B, just be a family guy and do things here and there to support that cause, but not be fully vested into it?
Okay, that was the question that been hunting me for like the last 3 weeks. Now I'm not saying nobody gonna die. I'm not saying it's always a possibility, but what I'm talking about is, are we still willing to die to a vision? Are we still willing to give our life for God Himself? Not even a vision, but for God Himself. Because when you ask me that question, like I said, I don't like to say God said, but it's been a consistent thought. Like ever since you asked me, and like that, the thought will come random times, and a scripture actually came when Jesus was in the garden, and He prayed Himself. He was like, Father, if it's possible, you know what I'm saying, I don't want to do this, and let this cup pass. So it was like, it was almost like I said, it was almost like God was G-checking me, like, fam, what you mean you're not gonna die? To this, it was like, what you mean? What you mean you're not gonna? You know what I'm saying? If I give you something to do, it's to death, and not even a job. It's basically a relationship. I think we need to get. I think, in my opinion, a lot of the church world is too much work based. Like He's not saying die to this job. Like everything you do is our relationship. Like you and me, we chilling. Hey, I need this. But are we still willing to die? Give our life. What I mean, are we willing to sacrifice what we want for what He wants? Are we still willing to do that? Because like I was saying, I read a post and it said, and the post said, I believe we are witnessing the great falling away from the church. And I'm gonna ask y'all how y'all feel about that. But for me, it was like, I'm kind of in between with that. Like I do believe that. I do believe a lot of people walking away from the faith, and I really don't believe people walking away from the faith. It's just we're not doing the church thing no more. We're not doing the church thing. We're not doing the 10-week revivals. We're not doing the conferences. So you know what I'm saying? It ain't no hangout spot no. It ain't like it ain't a hangout spot no more. So I think a lot of people walking away from that.
Yeah.
But in sense, like I'm looking on YouTube and they got whole podcasts now. Like I literally watched this lady whole podcast, and her whole podcast was bringing people on the podcast who have left the church. Their faith's still intact, as they say, but like the whole podcast is about testimonies who people who had just left church. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not bad. Like I believe the church is necessary, but how y'all feel about is this the great falling away? Is people leaving? Is people walking away from God, or is people walking away from church as is? This religion. Like, what you think? I think it's some of both. But how you feel about that?
I would say it's probably a combination of both. To what degree? I'm not sure to what degree. I think most folks who are walking away, they're done with the whole notion of church in general. But there's a downside that can come with that as well. There comes accountability.
Yeah.
Are they still around? Do they have people around them that can hold them accountable for their faith in Christ and in God? Or what's that structure look like? Because you can easily turn to a situation where you're walking away from the church, but now you're doing your own thing. But then that can then lead you to fall into, well, now you're away from God because there was no accountability or structure to keep you or keep them rooted. It depends on the nature of the person. Some people are have that structure of accountability. Like, for example, in my family, there's always accountability. If I call my cousins, I talk to my cousins. If I call my mom, I talk to my mom. If I call my uncle, I talk to my uncle. If they even hint falling off, there's going to be some kind of confrontation. But they're willing to talk, right? There's some kind of accountability there to say, hey, look, man, this is what God says, the Bible says, we understand that, but this is the way you need to walk. But I have that accountability. Depends on who you're rolling with. Right, it's no different than in the church. Right, we have these ministries that may start up where people are like, well, I'm called, but then there's no one who's checking, who's watching the watcher. I guess is probably the best way to look at it. But who are they accountable to, and then are they being fed as church leadership, for example, to a degree? I think it's both. Probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I definitely agree with you, Charles, and Willie. You guys both kind of touched on it. I would say the answer to that in short would be yes and no. So I do feel like people are leaving the church because of the church experience in itself, and then folks are leaving the faith in general because of that lack of accountability, and I guess that's the reason why the Bible does say, "Forsake not the gathering of yourselves together," because there's a sense of belonging and family and accountability in that. Thankfully, I have folks that hold me accountable as well outside of my church family. But the church experience, it's something.
Right.
So I think of church as a place of service. I think what we've gotten into these days is church has become a separate entity. It's become its own business. It's become its own
genre.
Right. So instead of doing what the Bible calls for us to do, like I think about Jesus when he talks to I forget I can't set it up, but I'll go to the middle of the story.
What you
Jesus is saying he says you didn't see me when I was sick, you didn't visit me in the hospital. You didn't feed me when I was hungry.
You didn't give me a cup of cold water.
Right.
Yeah.
And they said, surely, if we saw you, we would have done all those things. He says, what you do to the least of these, you've done to me. And I feel like that's where the church will ultimately be judged on. Not how much money we raise, how many people we get together, our membership numbers, but what we do for those that are less fortunate, the least of these.
I mean, I think I agree too.
I feel like if church doesn't serve that purpose,
I mean that's how I feel, because like I was saying, like to me personally, like everybody, it's no secret. That's why I say like but cats be hypocritical. It's like they always pointing out, oh, that's why I don't deal with church people. Because I'm like, the same people in the church is in your office place, is in the gym.
Right.
They people.
Realistically.
They people who want bread, you know what I'm saying? They came up broke. Church is a hustle. All you gotta do is be able to be good at what you do and be able to tug on emotional strings.
Right.
Especially women. You know what I'm saying? You ever wonder why the church is like,
terrible.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Women and men.
the women,
Yeah.
the women always outnumber the church, men in the church. You know what I'm saying? Because they built and more. So if you're able to tug on that string, whatever that string is, then you're able to get a following. And like I was saying, it's I came up wanting to be a football player, a rapper. It's cats coming up wanting to be a preacher, just for the fact of a profession.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's a hustle, but it's like I think now, in my opinion, it's getting back to what you were saying. It was like, why do we do this? And what's the purpose of what we're doing? Now, for me, the only purpose is the point to be that bridge to God. Like our job is to get him to God. You know what I'm saying? A relationship. Let me tell you how good this thing is. Like I want my life, my words, everything. I want it to be like honey to people around me. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a part of another reason why is the level of hypocrisy that we see in church and church folks. It's like, how can you sell me this when I really see how you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to make and convince people to live this life because of how you live it. I mean, honestly, that's the biggest form of witnessing to someone is how you live your life.
And people people who not in the church, like they thinking they looking at one thing. I tell the story all the time when I first got saved, and I don't recommend this. It's not. This is not how you do things. This is not how you do things. But I always like this homage to a whole different thing. And it was like we say the scriptures, but lately I say God been slowing me down. We always say the scriptures. Our thoughts, God's thoughts, and our thoughts is as far away from earth as it is from heaven. So basically, we have no idea. We can't even we have no idea what the plans of God is. How He gonna get a person there? Where He gonna place a person? Like we can He gives us outline of who He is, but like the whole Bible is like, okay, this is me. This is how I think. But the same Bible say the way I think and the way you think is they will never be in the same place. So it's like we got this idea of like God is a formula. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think God is breaking that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't treat my wife like it's a formula. Like if I sweep, if I sweep, if I make up the bed, I get some loving.
Yeah.
And we know, and any man person alive know that ain't true. You might sweep, you might do the dishes, go in there, she sleep. You know what I'm saying? But it don't work like that. It's relationship. You know, and like this is my wife. It's like I think a lot of the church, I did it. You know what I'm saying? It was like we treat God as a relationship. Like it's really, I really don't want nothing to do with you, but it's like I want what you offer. You know what I'm saying? I don't wanna like the whole point of a relationship is like let me figure out what's on your heart. And like our job is to do like we're His representative. Our only purpose is in whatever gift in our family. Our only purpose is to do what's in His heart. It was like I think this pandemic is bringing us back to reality because truth is truth. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all for it. Don't get like my dream. I got big dreams. I want to be able to pass something down to my son that they own. You know what I'm saying? I don't limit that, but it's like when it's all said and done with, it's all temporary. Like truth is truth. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, God is truly eternal, and this is only a small part of our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like truthfully, like once we exit this and get to realize, once we exit this and then enter into eternity, we still got a whole eternity, whether hell or heaven. So it's like it's kind of like bringing us back to reality, but bringing it back.
Yeah, you got out there a little bit.
I got out there a little bit.
It's like, come
I'm
on
passionate.
back. Come on back in.
Oh, cause I'm like, it's like I be questioning like.
This is why we need you here, Audrey.
See,
Miss you, Audrey.
Mediate, right?
see what I'm saying? Even when you ain't here, you throwing
Still
shade.
not.
You know what I'm saying? Even when she here, she throwing shade.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? I do get a little out of control, but I do believe that. It's just like I don't know. I'm passionate about it because like when I first got saved, like my whole thing, even to that, I kept this like because I know what it felt like. You know what I'm saying? And I I held a grudge for a long time against the old church people who would come and only preach hell to us. And it's like, but now looking back, like now that I'm mature, I'm realizing that okay, you was only coming like that's all y'all knew.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
that was actually love. Cause like they was actually doing it out of love, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, like I got tired of the hell speech. Like, bro, we know we going to hell. It got to for real. Like it
Let's
got,
move on from here.
it got to
Something else,
that.
right?
It got to that point. Like, all right, well, we didn't establish we going to hell. All right. That's all God was for a long time. You know what I'm saying? It was no relationship. We just trying not to go to hell. We like, bro, we going to hell.
Do you really think that was out of love?
Huh?
Was that out of love?
Some of it. I think and some of it is judgmental, but I think like even my mom, like even like to this day, like this I know my mom is a humble soul because she like I don't know it all. But it's just like I done had more different kind of teaching. So she would actually come to me and ask questions, which is always crazy because I got my
from your mom, right?
yeah, because I got my faith from my mom. So I'm always humble, and I'm like she teaches me, but some things about the scripture, like she'd come to me like, Junior, what this mean and stuff like that, and it's just like certain like the way they was brought up. Like, cause my mom says some coming up some preachy stuff. You're going to hell. You keep acting like that. I got that speech, but it was like I don't think some of it was just out of spite. I mean, the same thing you see now is just, but I truly think some people did it. That's all they knew. I don't think everybody was like, I hate you. I want to. I think some people thought that this how I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I want you to go to heaven, so I'm tough love. You know what I'm saying? Joe Jackson type love. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna beat you. But when I got saved, I was like, bruh, it's like it's people out here who not going to church. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, when I first got saved, I was drinking a beer, and that's what opened my mind then to how people view you. I was drinking my beer. And like, Cash knew I was going to church and all that. Just got saved, but I just got through fussing with Keanu. We had been married for like a year and a half. And I stepped outside and drinking a beer, and that's when he came up to me and started having a conversation. He was like, bro, you different. And I'm thinking, and like,
he is calm.
I'm like, dang, this is perfect. I'm making the church look bad, boy. I'm thinking, I'm fresh. I'm about a year and a half saved, whatever. And I'm thinking, I'm like, dang, you know? He said, bro, you different. He was like, you don't fuss at your wife. You don't call out a name. You don't put your hands on it. I just see you take care of your family, and when you get mad, you come out here and you drink your beer. And then after that moment, all he wanted to talk about was God and the Bible. He didn't even mention the beer. Like, you know what I'm saying? I felt bad. And that was me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You yourself.
He never mentioned it. He watched how I lived. He watched how I treated my wife. He watched how I treated my kids. He watched how I kept my temper. Me not knowing. You know what I'm saying? I'm stressed out at the moment. So I'm saying, I got the tall. Hey, I got the tall boy. We in the middle of the hood. We in the hood. I got the tall can.
Too.
Put that thing. Put that with the ground. I got the tall can out there, boy. Hey, and it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, that's like, if you knew watching this, you would say, but don't do that. I don't know, but at that moment, like, that dude, all he wanted to talk about was God after that. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I think a lot of us, we so busy trying to make the outside look good when the inside is a mess.
Right. And I honestly, I feel like, and one of my mentors told me that's basically the context of the Bible in itself. You have the Old Testament, which is everything's outer, everything is how you look, it's dotting every every I, crossing every T. It's all formalities, and then the New Testament, it becomes internal. It's a matter of the heart, and in that case, it was a matter of the heart. I know we have sin is sin. Don't get me wrong, sin is sin. But there are certain sins that are sins of the heart. That are more impactful. You're drinking a beer. I mean, he sees your heart. He don't see, like you said, he didn't see the beer. He saw your heart.
Yeah, he ain't saying nothing about the beer.
It's I feel like that's the difference between previous generations and ours. It's everything for them was more of an outside thing. It was more formality. God forbid they miss doing communion for a month. Oh my God. Like I never realized older folks really stood by doing communion. Like if they don't do communion at church, they gotta go get it at some point that week. It's wild, but it's a
Right.
That's a matter of formality. That's not really an inward
Correct.
thing. That's
Tradition.
not a
It's not a relationship.
right. If to truly commune with God, you pray and you worship. That's inwardly. That's communion. Like so, just or even like things like baptism. I believe in baptism, but some folks feel like if you don't get physically baptized, you're not truly
Not truly
saved.
Yeah.
Totally disregarding the internal baptism of the Holy Spirit. So it's like I feel like that's the difference, or that's the issue that I have with church in general right now. Like I feel like a lot of it's formalities. We're just meeting for these. I'm tired of hearing the same cliche sayings
And that's another thing. Cliches.
I feel like
When you going through pain, you don't hear no cliche.
right.
I don't want to hear no cliche.
I want you to touch my inward, man. Like I mean, we're just going through the motions at this point. It's not really doing for me anything for me inwardly, and I feel like that's the reason why folks are leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Truthfully, this conversation can go a million ways, but I think, man, that your question and that question, like, are we witnessing the great falling away? Like, are we seeing people like walk away from the faith? You know what I'm saying? Walk away from, like, I think it's getting back to the nitty gritty. I think like I said, there's no more. This is not a hangout spot no more. We're not doing 10-week revivals. We're not doing the conference every weekend.
Right.
So what I'm saying, so why you here? And it's like media is not helping. Media is not helping because every time you turn around, it's a pastor sleeping. And like I'm like whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then like as soon as we see another whatever, then people looking at you like, yeah, didn't I say about them church folks? And which that's lame anyways, because like people say that about, man, these people. And like we was talking before this, like people always say, we all know about the John Gray incident. We all know about it, all right? So there's no need to sugarcoat it. All Shriam or Tuam, whatever it is.
Shriam.
But it was like we see this and like people so quick to jump on, like you said, sin is sin. I'm not neglecting the sin. I personally would think he should have sit down, but that's between him and God. But people so quick to jump on people like that, like a John Gray, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're right, sin is sin, but at the same time, people so quick to say what they want to do, but they're in a position where they can't do it. You get a couple $1 million, you get some power, and you start, and then let me see you get some real power, let me see you get some real money, and let me see you turn them Instagram models away.
Yeah.
Then I respect you. You know what I'm saying? Right now, they're not looking at you. They don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Got a point.
don't be so quick. Don't be so quick, cause like, bro, it's a certain time of the day. Like it's a certain time of the night. You don't need to be on Instagram scrolling. If you're trying to be, you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to keep your purity.
Hey, we say that it's different time zone in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
24,
That's
right.
24/7 shit type thing.
Listen, like, don't be so quick. You know what I'm saying? Because people are so quick to say what they won't do.
But I'll say John Gray. I feel like in the case of John Gray, that individual, he brought a lot of that on himself. He desired that notoriety and fame, and I feel like him and his wife are trying to be like Jay-Z and Beyonce or something. Like
Jay-Z and B?
they love that limelight and that attention, and hey, he hasn't been obviously processed like we talked about earlier, going through that stage of sanctification and humbling himself. He just kind of
Hit it,
damn. I mean, he was at Lakewood,
then transferred
and
it.
then you just went to what's the place called now?
Oh, I forgot the name of the church.
Whatever the name of
Whatever the name of that church is.
Relentless
Yeah.
Church. You just kind of took it over at its height, its peak.
I think, man, with a great falling away, I'm talking about the whole.
Egg my whole comment.
He said,
I'm sorry, man. That's ADD. In me. Go ahead.
No,
I do that.
I was done.
I
You
do
good.
that.
Go back to the great falling away.
You gotta excuse me, bro. I do that.
Go back to the great falling
You
away.
sure?
Yeah. Trust me.
Just see. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
You said back to the great falling away.
I forgot. You don't care.
well, I'll piggyback off of something he said. So I look at it like the whole incident with John Gray or whatever his name is, the Book of Gray is the only thing I remember him from anyway.
Yeah.
I don't pay too much attention to preachers on the television
Yeah.
anyway. But I remember hearing about that, and I was just like, well, okay, what's going on now? Like, didn't this happen like a year ago or so ago? But I think it tells something bigger. It tells more. If you look at his scenario and you kind of make it shrink it down to the bare essentials, you see that happening on a smaller level with everyday people.
Yeah.
Right. So where they're not. Of course, I'm kicking off social media, for example, where people try to portray themselves as one way for the camera in one instance, but yet behind the scenes, they're all jacked up like it ain't nothing else. But they keep wanting to fashion themselves in such a way to get some sort of I guess some sort of feedback from someone else to validate themselves.
Validation. Yeah.
Right. So and it's the same thing I was telling my. I ain't gonna put my niece on Front Street because she's on social media.
No, you good. Yeah.
But just I've seen with other family members, like I see pictures and stuff going on, and I'm like, I see the pictures, but what I'm seeing in the pictures and then what I'm seeing what you're saying in your posts don't necessarily line up together. And I'm not saying that they should always line up together because everyone has everyone has emotions, right? They're up 1 minute, down 1 minute.
Right.
They got certain things going on, and they're kind of expressing themselves on a platform that doesn't take into account that you're a human being expressing yourself with your wide array of emotions, right? So you hear different contexts of people just doing certain things, and it kind of leads into what you're saying, you're falling away. I think that primarily ties into that social media aspect as well. There's a falling away from a lot of different things. People are so used to being fulfilled by fakeness on a regular basis, so why would they want to go into someone else's, in this case a church, for example, to witness the same fakeness that they see every day when they're scrolling down Instagram or wherever else.
Wow.
Hold money, like you got money. Like, come on, man. Like, oh, I'm in my private jet. Well, who is that? Bow Wow. I'm in private jet.
Yeah.
But clearly, guy behind you, take a picture of, was it Bow Wow?
Bow Wow.
I'm like, come on, man.
But I go back on Bow Wow.
But I'm not going back, but I'm using it as an example of how people take,
They be fronting.
they front
Yeah.
for a certain audience.
Yeah.
Or an audience, a perceived audience, to make them think they're bigger than what they really are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as like church, not even just people. I think we just suffer from this big identity crisis.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I think instead of living our truths and who we truly are, I think we live in personas and who we portray to be.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the mental health issues coming from. Is like this tear, like of who I am and who people think I am. And of course, nobody gonna know your true
right.
truth. Like it's a truth that only you and God know, and that's just for you. But I think a lot of like you say, performance. But since we are talking about the great falling away, I think the church itself, a lot of us is identity crisis. Like we don't know who we are. Like we become our personas instead of who we are. Now that's not, and like for me it goes back to relationship. Like the whole point of this is get them to Him. The whole point of this relationship. I have a relationship with my wife. I have a relationship, and God relates. He calls us His bride. So he puts it in a marriage type, relation type. Like okay,
Right.
So relationships are not pretty. Like but God ain't scared of your truth. And it was
Right.
it was like me and my wife. Like my wife knows my truth outside of God more than anybody. See, she knows she knows the naked me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it ain't always pretty. And it's like we fronting on the book, and we front even to the point I can only say it because I did it. We fronting to God.
Yeah.
Like we coming to God. Like we not who we are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like I think once you able to walk in play, because like if God knows, like I'm not gonna blatantly like just live crazy, but I'm not pretending because God knows who I am. So why? Who am I fronting for? Like who am I fronting for?
You're just gonna
You
get
know what I'm
exposed
saying?
anyway.
That's
Like who am I fronting for?
That's the game, man. That's the game now. Unfortunately, that's what we see in church, and everybody plays this game.
Yeah.
You rarely find folks that are like truly genuine in church. Like, listen, like, in total transparency, even in leadership positions, that's everyone has to feel like they need to put on this facade. I'm this grand guy, and I represent this, and our church does this, and the intentions of it aren't genuine and pure. The intentions of an act or event we have is to impress, outside folks, so we can post that on social medias and look like we're doing this big thing. But that's the game. Unfortunately, I don't know too many folks that are truly genuine in their approach and
What do you mean by genuine though?
like not having a ulterior motive.
Right.
like so I grew up. Let me rewind this. So I grew up. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad, and I know them. I know them. I know when they're not truly genuine in their intentions. I know when they are, and I've never seen them go outside of their intentions for something regarding church.
Yeah.
Even if they felt like they were in the wrong, they wouldn't preach that day. They'd have someone else preach.
Yeah.
They'd ask for forgiveness behind closed doors before
Get
going
the-
out
get
front.
the first people, yeah.
Right. So me now being exposed or knowing, moving away, exposed me to a lot of different churches and the whole church world, church arena, and I see like it's all, it's enticing once you're exposed to it. Something different for me. It was enticing to me to see so many different varieties of church, and I'm just used to this one, Pentecostal kind of holiness kind of vibe.
Tambourine playing.
Right. I go out and I see the non-denomination. I see the other folks, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. What were we doing? Why didn't we have all this?
It seems so slow when you go out.
Right,
Like,
but then when you really get into the meat of what they're doing, it's not genuine. What they're doing is just to build a brand.
That's correct. To entice.
Right.
A brand.
Others. Right.
A brand. I would possibly be teaching on that. Actually, everybody trying to build a brand, and that's true. And
But that's the game.
That's the
Right.
And it's like we say that, and it's true. It's like it's bad in that sense. Like I don't want people to think like they're wrong with having owning a business, but what you mean is using God to build your own intentions.
Right.
Yeah.
You use a biblical principle behind an event.
Correct.
It's disguising what your true intentions are. It all goes back to this, man. This shirt,
The motives.
the true motives.
That's my thorn, man. Like ever since God showed me that, it's
I
good.
feel like I'm talking in circles right now, trying to get my point across.
No, you're actually smooth.
No,
It
dude.
was really smooth.
You good? Go
It
ahead.
actually
Yeah.
made sense.
No, I get what you're saying. Like it gets to the heart of the issue.
Right.
Like you get to why you do a thing, and it was like when I was talking about the great falling away, a lot of it, you know what I'm saying, being that I am African American, is huge in the African American community. Like I don't know if people paying attention, but if you out there, like African Americans is leaving the faith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
African Americans, like you know what I'm saying, are leaving the faith, not the church. They leaving. They don't believe in God. They got the white Jesus talk. They believe it's all slavery. They believe that.
Hebrew Israelite type
Yeah,
stuff.
that's the big one.
That's exactly what
and
it is.
it's
Why
like-
do you think African Americans are leaving the church?
Well, a lot of what they see, and it's just like the whole fact. I don't know, man. What it seemed like. It seemed like the church, for a long period, never really spoke to us. You know what I'm saying? And then you got this. Then you got this Hebrew Israelite who comes along, and then like if you like Nation of Islam and all that, like the reason why black people going there, because you see what they do.
Yeah.
Like they don't just sit on the corner and preach. They purchase schools. They
Right.
purchase.
They're-
They in the
Action.
community. They in the community,
Yeah.
and it's like, and don't get me wrong. I don't like. I know people in Nation of Islam. I know black Hebrew Israelites, and we have conversations. You know what I'm saying? I stand on my belief. They stand on theirs. But as far as person to person, there's no beef. But it's like I would think that's one of the reasons, because like even with Lecrae and Kirk Franklin, when they boycotted the Dove Award or something like that, like y'all ain't had a problem with me none until I spoke up for my race. You know what I'm saying? And we all know there's no color in Christ, but at the same time, if we're all in the same body and you see me bleeding, you're not gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep quiet. And then of course we know Americanized Christianity was whitewashed. I mean, we grew up watching Egypt cartoons and everybody was Caucasian
Right.
in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying when you have, but you in Africa. Moses got like dark blondish hair. You got Jesus looking like
Well,
you got-
I would take it a step further. That's only because of the people that actually made those productions, for example.
Right.
So, for example, I have a graphic design background. We talk about white Jesus, for example. The Hebrew Israelites may say, oh, that's the white Jesus or whatever. Whoever may say that. The reality of it is, back in those days, the only way you could actually draw someone was for you to have a model.
Model, yeah.
So unless you got a slave that has the same features of whoever you're drawing, right? I mean, you gotta understand they did apprenticeships. These different monarchs would actually, or patriarchs, however you want to say it, would have people assigned to certain offices to create art, right? That's their whole job, was to go to school for the apprenticeship and then create artwork. If you look at art history, you'll see that across the board. So one reason why you have a person that was representing Jesus as white is because I forgot the artist who actually made that particular drawing, was because he had to draw someone that was physically there. They have these different time periods in history in art where they only knew how to draw from certain perspectives, for example, right? So I think it was like realism. There's different types of ages of artwork. And during that particular time frame, what was popular at that particular time frame was, I think it was realism, where they had to draw real from real people. They didn't just draw from, let me just see something and draw it, right? It was from, I have to have a person, hey, you're the model, right? You're the model, I'm drawing you, this is what we're going to draw, I'm going to make you look like this, right? That's where that whole premise comes from. So when people say white Jesus, I automatically say, no, from that time period, that was what they had to use to represent something.
That is the most aggravating conversation ever be in.
Right.
It's the white Jesus conversation.
Right, because they'll keep circling around. You're like, they had to do that because that's how they drew. They didn't just draw. Like if you look at if you go to where they have all the great paintings and the finger touch another finger on. I forgot where that's located overseas. All that stuff that was based off of realistic human features.
And that's
So,
true. And
right.
that's true. But the thing with like
But
you
it may
said, the
not
black
be
community, with the black community is like, even I forgot, some girl did a TED talk and it was like a lot of reasons why black people they never saw themselves in this story. Like I don't see me, and then like a lot of people are saying they going back to their ancestral religion. And the thing that's scary about that is what I'm seeing, because I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about that. I'm not gonna say I'm a scholar. I don't know a lot. You know what I'm saying? But what I do know, I seen like some people they start to dabble in stuff like witchcraft.
Yes.
And it's like,
exactly.
And it's like I actually had a personal experience. You know what I'm saying? So I know it in the game. I actually was with a woman a while back ago. I actually was with a woman a while back ago. And right before that, I had a friend. And his brother, he was like a lover boy type deal. And he met a girl. You know what I'm saying? He was faithful, but he was like ridiculously clingy to this girl. It was like, it was ridiculously. And my partner grandma was a witch doctor. They went to his grandma, and she told him to go in the backyard and look for a shallow grave. Like I said, I don't know nothing about this. And they found it. It was basically a love spell. She had whatever she had in there, and he put a love spell on there. And that was like and the second time I was dating a girl, and one of her peoples was a witch doctor, and she would go places. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say places locally and not locally. And so it's real, and it's like I'm seeing stuff in the music, and I'm seeing stuff just to the fact that, because I know that feeling. I know the feeling, like when I went to Canada and I spoke with Africans who can speak their generation back, and when they asked me to speak about my culture, the only thing that I can say was a slave boat. The only thing, it started when we got off the slave boat. I truly don't know who I am or where I came from. And that's an aggravating feeling. So I think a lot of black people struggling with that. Like really, like, who are we? Are we Africans? Are we, you know what I'm saying? Are we Israelites? Are we Hebrews?
Right.
And it's like this frustration. I think that's one of the main reasons. And it's like a lot of people, like, not knowingly, is because we go in songs and they talking about charging crystals and all that. That's a real deal. Like, people really do that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I didn't know that until I faced it myself. And I was like, ooh, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I thought this stuff was like, you hear about the stuff, you hear about the witchcraft, but when you are part of it and,
right.
you see, like, oh.
Well, witchcraft has always been around.
Yes.
I know that, but it's like, we kind of like downplay it. Like some people, well, I did.
You see, it's even biblical. I mean, you see
Right.
instances in the Bible where they, like, I think it was Paul and someone were walking through a town, and this woman that was kind of witchcraft for hire, for profit, for her master, she was doing her thing, and she saw them and she said, these two guys are truly servants of God, or prophets of God. And it said Paul was grieved by her, he got upset and angry to the fact that he kind of rebuked her and called out that, you know, the demon that gave her that gift of witchcraft or whatnot, and the owner of the woman, basically her pimp, was upset because he's like, you're messing up my money now,
Right,
man.
right, right.
But you see instances of it all the time. And I want to go back to when you mentioned folks leaving the church, but they're going to Black Hebrews and Nation of Islam. It's because, like I said, they're empowering us. They're more centered towards empowering Black folks. And I look at even the actions that they take. You know, unfortunately, in the African American church, we don't tend to see a lot of things that are geared towards bettering our socioeconomic, our educational. We don't see things that benefit those areas of our life. We just see the spiritual aspect. Most churches don't have that holistic approach, and it kind of makes us a little ignorant. Folks are a little ignorant as far as that goes. I mean, you look at the Nation of Islam. They're I just watched the Malcolm X movie before I came over here. So I mean, these folks own restaurants, schools.
They do.
They do it all. So they're impacting the whole man,
the community,
and empowering their communities, right? And meanwhile, the Black church is just over here shouting and slobbing, rolling on the floor, go outside and eat.
People are like, what is
eat
this?
Chicken that's gonna kill them in 20 years, or, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're just spending their last dime to get to church because the prophet told them they need to come tonight. And
Come on, man.
That's powerful. I mean, I think that's a big reason. I mean, it can be multiple, but I got a passion for I got a passion for our people because I see it.
Yeah.
Like I see like Black people falling like it ain't no small number. Like it's starting to become like more rare for me to meet another African American that believes in Christ like I do.
Yeah.
Than it was when I was first coming up. Like cats like I don't, you know what I'm saying? You got all these different people who are actually in the community, and then you got what's going on in America as Black people, and we like waiting in there. A lot of people who are not grounded in their faith is like, bruh, that's why this is like people like us. You know what I'm saying? This is why this is important. This is why I started no labels, because I know a lot of people don't go to church, and this is why people like this and people who are in the community, like, they need to see that. You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't go to church, so like we reflect Him. That's why like, and like if we're not on our game, because I think another reason is like when we get saved, we almost forget where we come from a lot of the time. Start speaking the language. I'm not saying you get saved when you go right back to the trap. You know what I'm saying? But it's like we forget where we come from. It's like when people can no longer relate to you in any kind of way, when they can no longer they'll respect you, but they won't listen to you. You have to be able to relate to them in some kind of way. It's just like you take a real Rick Ross. I'm talking the real Rick Ross. It's certain people that I can't even talk to, but he can walk in the building and just off of who he is, and just off his credibility, he can relate to people that I can't. You know what I'm saying? Especially talking about in the streets. Like people are here, but if you ain't never begged for food, I mean, if you ain't never went without food, if you ain't never struggled like me, my man. If you ain't never struggled like me, if you ain't never been broke like me, if you can't relate to my pain, don't talk to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And you know like, what Black church would do to you if you came and you were hungry and you needed and you were in need, they would preach to you. They wouldn't feed you. So that's where we miss it. We gotta meet folks in
bread of life. They don't give you no real
put some food in their stomach first.
We gotta give them resources. We gotta give them jobs. We gotta provide education for them. That's witnessing. That's witnessing the gospel to someone. But instead, we're so focused on, you got to be a deacon in the church. You need to put your shirt in your pants, and women, y'all need to wear dresses to your ankles. We're so used to that, the outwardly stuff, the part that we think God is really concerned about. We're so concerned with that, man, that we miss it.
I like what you said too.
You're hungry and you need something to eat. I'm gonna feed you, then I'm gonna help you find a job. The gospel can come later.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that first.
That is the gospel.
But that is the gospel.
Right?
That's what Jesus said. If you do these to the least of these, you've also done it to me. But
don't put the brand there first.
Right. Well, I'm coming.
This is the brand. You can eat later, but here's my brand.
Right. I'm coming from Mount Moriah church.
Right.
And I'm taking a selfie while I'm giving you this lunch bag.
Yeah.
Because you're hungry. Like, come on, man.
I mean, but you know what, man? I forgot who said it, but I think that's a weakness of all men. You know what I'm saying? To be noticed. Like I said, like, don't get me wrong. I don't want I'm not the type. People had different views. I'm not the type to say like everybody that's famous is not evil, because in this climate, God has to have people in high places. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would God we don't have to. You know what I'm saying? He can do it however, but it's like I see the like, you take any major mainstream podcast, mainstream radio station, they talk about everything, and they got millions of ears that they influencing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So why would God not have people doing the same thing? Like, okay, let's flow truth through the airways. But at the same time, it's like, I think it's a weakness of all men. You know what I'm saying? All men. To be like, and when I say men, I mean men and women. Like, I think social media hits that.
Mankind. Right.
Yeah. I think social media hits that.
They want that attention.
That attention, like, it feeds that.
Validation.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just the stovepipe. That's what I call
It feeds that,
It
and
feeds itself.
and it's like I said, we don't know who we are a lot of time. It's identity crisis. It's like we need this validation, and when we don't get the validation, you're depressed. You know what I'm saying? You worried, you anxiety. You wake up every day not in, and I'm speaking from experience, not because I know I'm speaking from me. You wake up every day trying to see how you could, you know what I'm saying, get that attention. How can you're not being creative for the love of it. You're being creative
for the focus.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's like,
Right.
yeah, you for the
And then
attention.
you lose the genuine intentions.
That's
of it,
correct.
Which is where the church is.
And it's
But
energy.
I go back to Jesus, right? So Jesus finds I can't remember what miracle it was, but he says, "Hey, I did this, but don't tell nobody I did this."
Right.
He did
right.
it all the time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't want
Correct.
Don't tell him I did this. And of course, people always went back and told everybody.
Yeah.
And his fame spread abroad. Like, you know what I mean? Jesus, that's not something he seeked or wanted.
No, he didn't seek it.
But because of who he was and his humility, God elevated him to that
I
place.
mean, it's gonna come like, if you great, you can't
Right.
hide a Jesus.
So that's why I say, when we had that conversation earlier, I feel like someone that's truly walking and following God wouldn't be in some of those spaces where folks were seeking that fame. They'd be more common, but because of their humility, because of that lost virtue of humility, it's totally
Right.
lost in
Right.
this day. God will elevate them because He knows that He can trust them with it. But it's amazing now that we seek fame and attention, and our Lord and Savior, the person who was striving to be like, didn't want it.
And people notice that. Like, it's energy. Like, bro, you ain't gotta be saved no energy. Like, coming up, I was told you can walk in a room and know how people feel about you. You can feel tensions. I'm not saying you can read their mind, but you can feel energy. You can feel, like, you can walk in a room and you can feel when there's tension in there.
Yeah.
You may not know if it's towards you,
But you know it's there.
You know it's you.
Right,
You know it's
exists.
there. You know what I'm saying? I ain't like, but it's like you can feel energy, and it's like people. That's the whole thing. Like, people who not in church, they're not crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, everybody's human. They're not mad at people being human. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you gotta be held to a standard. You know what I'm saying? You say you're going for God, they're gonna hold you to that standard. But at the same time, people are not mad at people being human. People mad at the hypocrisy, the heart, how you treat people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that same but the problem with that is the same hypocrisy that people are going against is the same hypocrisy that's all around them.
it's just
So
true.
so if you look at the tools,
That's true.
and I use this word tools specifically, tools as in YouTube, tools as in Twitter, tools as in IG. It's a tool.
Right.
Those same tools they use to get information is the same tools that reinforce. It's made to reinforce what they engage in with it, right? So if you look at, for example, YouTube, if I'm searching Black history, or let's say I'm looking at specifically, like African Disperia or whatever,
Spirituality.
right? or African roots, or if whenever I feed that, it's called an engine, right? No
Yeah.
different than Google search engine. If I feed it something, it's only going to return, right, what I feed it.
Right.
So you sign back in the next day. What does it give you?
Mhm.
Some of the remnants of what you actually searched for the day before, with other remnants of what you would possibly find attractive.
Right.
Right. It goes back to the person. What you feed it is what you get.
And
So
we become what we
that is
speak,
correct.
We
That is
become
correct.
that. We
That is
become
correct.
that.
That
That's
is
true.
correct. So
I-
therefore, in relation to the great falling away, if whatever insecurity you may have at the time, and you're searching, what's that guy on YouTube? Dawson Talks, right? Where he talks about the different political or different pastors that do certain things, or people from the church who do certain things, right?
And you
If
keep
I start
reading
searching,
that.
if I start getting hooked on Dawson Talks, right, or whatever, then next thing it pops up with something about new birth, about and I'm like, come on, man.
And
like,
it
but
keep
I know
feeding
it. But I see,
and
I
it keep feeding.
right. So what I do is, since I use these things as tools, it's no different than a toolbox that I'm using to fix the brakes of my car. I know a tool is used for a specific purpose. So the first thing I do is I correct the tool. No, I'm not interested in that kind of conversation. Move it off my slate. I need you. And then I search for something off to throw the algorithm off
Yeah.
to feed me something other. It's a tool. But the problem is these days people don't realize it's a tool. They think this is what's going on in the real world, when the reality is it's not even the real world. It's what you feeding it. It gives you back what you have.
Bro, we are literally in the matrix.
That's exactly right.
Bro, we are in the matrix, bro. I had to step away. Like, I tell people now, like, I'm on Facebook less than ever. Like, when people see me on Facebook, that's me coming on 5 minutes, because literally I've been working 10 hours a day now, and the only time I ever get any time on the phone is like 5 minutes, because we don't got service in there, so I'm never on it. And when they do see me, I'm coming, I'm sharing, I'm leaving. But it's like, I found out that when I'm away from all that, like I ain't, when I'm away from YouTube, from all that time, day after day, we got the week, I start to think like me again. Like when you
Instead of thinking what
yeah,
it's telling. Yes,
instead
right,
of like
right.
when you take in so much of this, so many statuses, and you listen to so many short videos, which don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of, I have my YouTube splurge, I like it, but when you digest, it's like you're not even thinking for yourself no more. You thinking like them, you know what I'm saying? So like I gotta get away, like even with YouTube, like some people listen to sermon after sermon after sermon after
Yeah, you
sermon,
can't do that.
and thinking
It's gonna feed you.
and it's like,
yes,
bro,
right,
like
yeah.
you're no longer thinking for yourself anymore, and like we
You're
not,
being told what to think at that rate.
bro, like we was thinking for ourselves back in the day when it was free after 9.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, all we doing is texting, playing Snake. And, bro,
Right,
hey,
right, yeah.
Hey, you
Solitaire.
Yeah, solitaire,
solitaire.
spades.
Hello, you AT&T?
Right,
Yep.
right.
Call me after 9. Call me after 9.
Make sure you call me.
He said, yeah, you call me after 9, bro. It's like, but we socialize, we talk to friends. You know what I'm saying? It's like we thought.
Interaction.
Now everybody thinks for ourselves. Now there's nothing wrong with getting motivation. There's nothing wrong with getting inspiration. There's nothing wrong with hearing some sermons. But when you flood your mind with other people's thoughts, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Right, you kind of take on what their thoughts are as your thoughts.
even as it goes toward God, like you relating
Okay,
to
that's
God,
correct.
how somebody else relating to God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you're not even thinking for yourself. Oh, this how God works, and God's saying I did that for her, or I did that for him.
Right.
That ain't how I'm dealing with you. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody put up another meme. It was like your calling is not to be understood by anyone. It was not a conference call. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we get so caught up like it was never meant for everybody to
Right.
understand it.
That's
you know
correct.
What I'm saying?
That's
It
correct.
was a one-on-one ordeal. Like I want you to do this. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And it's like it all goes back to relationship. Like, bro, like I think if I could tell anybody that's watching this, that's not saved, like this whole goal, I want you to know him, like I know him, or like he knows him, or like she, like that's the whole goal. Like relationships are ugly, but they're honest,
Right.
and they free you. Like this ain't no put a towel on, get baptized, and try your best every day just not to do the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not a relationship. Like God said, I want a relationship. I want to like, and we know when we're not dumb. We know what a relationship is. He put all kind of pictures. Like okay, he called us the bride. It was almost like okay, we know God is way smarter than us, so he basically had to dumb down himself to explain to us. Like this is the watered down version of what I really know, so that you can understand. I'm gonna call y'all the bride. Okay, y'all know what a relationship is. You know what I'm saying? Use your brain. He paint all these relationship pictures, and it's like I don't think a lot of Christians have no. I don't think they know the people. I don't think a lot of people know the person they preach about. And like I get that vibe. I have no right to say what they know. I don't do it from a judgmental spot. But see, the thing is, I know the person that they're preaching about. Now I know everybody is different, but it's like if somebody come to me right now and start talking about David, you know what I'm saying, and they talking sideways, I know you. Like what you?
Hey, what you talking about?
That's
That's
not
funny.
That's
Right.
not David. That's not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know you like your wife know you, but I know you on a friendly level.
Right.
It's not. I would know they fronting. You know what I'm saying? And it was like a lot of times I hear people talk about them like, it was like I know that person that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I know him intimately. That don't. It's not really lining up to even his word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like okay, like it's not lining up. So it's like I think it's like a relationship. We so hungry to be seen. You know what I'm saying? And it's like people see that. Like people see authenticity. Like you said, like Jesus never tried to find the light. But you can't deny somebody like that. You can't deny somebody out here healing the blind. You can't deny that. Like anything you great at, the fame gonna come. It's something like if you're great at it, you're gonna get the fame's gonna come. But it's like,
Don't seek it.
don't do it for it.
And then I want to touch on that because I know we've been going for a while.
Oh shit, yeah, let's
But,
trying to check it out. What you trying to say? Something?
but-
You see how he slid that in there?
So,
Oh, it is.
oh my goodness. Folks not really knowing God in that way in relationship. I feel like, or let me pose this question. Let me not give my answer. Do you guys feel like the church gets in the way of folks knowing God for themselves?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe certain occasions. Then maybe. No, go ahead.
I would say, I've been thinking about that. I'm glad you mentioned. I've been thinking about that question for a while. I think they do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let me frame that right. I think the individuals
In
the church
There you
get in
go.
the way.
There you go.
I think they are.
Right. I don't think the church in general. I think the individuals inside the church,
I think
who
ego.
people look at, often get in the way because they're saying like I experience this for myself. I can only speak for myself. So you have the praise and worship team up there saying one thing and singing and now they're speaking in tongues and running around and every apostle, pastor slapping them with oil and all this other stuff and they're screaming and hollering, talking about deliverance and yada yada yada. But then you got like 3 or 4 kids out of wedlock. To me, that and people looking at you like that's kind of funny. That means there's some kind of off kilterness going on and something's off.
Yeah.
Something's off. Do you really say what you mean? That you sing about and that you're and some of these singers, man, are excellent singers. I'm not knocking them. Exceptionally talented. Not knocking it. Right? But there comes a time where you have to decide why are they doing it? Like, are you doing it just to say you can sing? Or are you doing it because there's a real relationship between you and God there? But they portray it like there's a real relationship between them and God there. But when you look at everything else behind it, there's no remnant of a relationship.
There's no trace of it.
There's no trace of the relationship at all.
Yeah.
So people look at that, and then they look at that as the church.
Yeah. It's like Psalms 34. Blessed is the man that, let me not try to quote it, but it's a part in there that says that he doesn't stand in the way of sinners.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of folks in the church, let me not say the church, because I've been saying that a lot tonight, but like you said, people in the church stand in the way of sinners.
It's all right.
And,
all the smoke
right.
come directly
That's correct.
to your inbox. All the smoke coming to me. Yo,
They
baby.
stand in the way of sinners, and they prevent folks from truly knowing who God is. And I feel like once we get to know who God is, I do feel like the church as a whole would look different. We
Right.
would come together and really serve the true purpose. And I still feel like we're still evolving. The church is evolving back to its origin.
Evolving back to his origin.
Yes.
That's a different time. Evolving back.
COVID has forced the church to go back to its
It's kind of like a
origins.
recycle.
Right. You look at the early mentions of the church and the Revelations and Paul writes all these different churches and they met in houses and
Correct.
it
Small
turned
groups.
into a thing where they would just go eat a lot and then they got rebuked from that. Like, yo, this ain't about just eating, breaking bread, having a good time. This is actually you have a mission.
The cornbread,
right.
the chicken dust.
Right. But
Some collard
it's gonna
hot sauce.
the church isn't gonna be more. It's not about the building, and that's what I feel like. We worship now. We worship the building. We we hoard all this stuff to ourselves.
Correct.
And
We
sell.
worship tradition.
Right.
It's a
Right.
it's a false sense of, to me, it's a false sense of like stability, like false sense of the real thing. Like being that David done shut us down. And go ahead, go ahead and make my final thing. Like you saying, I agree with all that. I guess.
Can I say one thing before we end though?
Oh no, we ain't in it. We about to end. David
Okay,
done shut us
yeah,
down.
yeah.
He done shut us down.
Say-
You see what I'm saying? Hey, Audrey, you ain't here, but your man holding you down. He holding you down, Audrey, for real. But no, like, and then I'm gonna get to you. It's like, just no labels. You know what I'm saying? I never created it to be preachy, and it's like I wanted people to see real people. Cause that's one of the things that I believe God showed me is like people can't relate to believers. So I'm like, that's why I'm transparent as I am, and it's like a lot of people don't. I don't think they dislike it. They just don't understand it. And it's like, it's uncomfortable. Like, the whole True Motive thing when I first came out, I basically told people, look, I'm running game on all y'all. That's what I was doing for the longest. I was running game. Just like the same people
Right.
talking about, I
That's
was
what you're
running,
saying.
you know what I'm saying?
That's what you're saying.
My heart wasn't in it. I was in it for the reward. I wasn't doing it authentic, but I played a good role.
Yeah.
And I played it so good to the point where if you would ask me, I would sincerely say I'm doing it for God until God showed me my heart.
Some people are lost in that though. Some people
And it
are
was like-
so and they're lost in it.
And that's a whole nother
Yeah.
episode because
That is.
like we said earlier, I don't it gets on my nerve when I get the support gospel. Let's support each other. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna go in depth of that, but it's like a lot of times people say let's support each other. They're really saying let's support me. Or, you know what I'm saying?
It's selfish.
Let's
Yeah.
get together and I'm noticing that.
That's me.
But really, let's support me.
Right.
And I'm not really gonna join in any support outside of anything I'm not involved in. I'm not gonna support.
Right.
That's a whole other story. I don't speak on it a lot, but a lot of people and that's one thing that irks my nerves just as a Christian, as in the body. Like I'm not perfect. My whole brand says I'm not perfect, bro. But listen, it gets on my nerve when we as a body, we're supposed to be family. It's so much like I can come into a room and sometimes you can feel you can feel the competition. Like people are cool.
Yes.
People are cool with you when they're the star.
Yes. Only when they're the star.
When they're the limelight. But if you come in there and you bring a threat to the light coming off them, you know what I'm saying?
It becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem. And I couldn't say that before God processed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I couldn't say that before God saying, yo, that's you. You feel what I'm saying? Like I tell people all the time, like, bro, that like jealousy, that was real. Like pride, ego, and it was like once you get past all that, it's like okay, and it's like, bro, we building the same. Like it's like a team. You got a quarterback, you got a running back, you got linebackers getting paid millions, but you don't really see their face. They not Tom Brady, but they NFL players.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
They play
saying?
their position though.
They play their position. Like you know what I'm saying? Like everybody not gonna be a Brady.
Right.
Like everybody, like it is a face. It is a leader, whoever that is. That's a position, and we think most times like you really don't want to be the leader. It's like if you really consider nitty gritty, it's the hardest position. Like the person that's up, like the guy places to be over the people, or he expects more. But whatever. I don't went on a tangent.
Exactly.
I don't like you. Something like see,
Go ahead, Charles.
I just want to say real quick, just for the people,
your man's aren't you? Yeah.
please don't confuse people building a church, or in this case we use a term brand. We're just kidding, right? But please don't misconstrue people that actually have a particular brick and mortar church, right? Because at the end of the day, sometimes it takes resources in that particular ministry to make other things happen, right? So, for example, we talk about feeding the hungry, right? Well, sometimes you need to stage food somewhere, right? So if you have a particular church who has a kitchen, they need a place to stage that place at. They also need volunteers for folks to come in to help them move that food, especially during our times now, out to other folks.
Right.
So I think a lot of times with the influence that we have with social media these days, or in this case, the internet, I'll say the internet because it's not just social media. When we have influence from other folks' opinions who don't really know what's going on in the body of Christ or at a particular church, most outsiders don't realize that. So when churches do ask for certain money to build certain things,
Right.
it takes money to build a kitchen to feed the hungry.
Right.
Facts. It takes money to go rent the truck that actually has refrigeration to hold the perishable goods, just to get it down to some of the other shelters down there to feed folks.
Right.
Those things require funds and it requires resources. Just like it takes money to stream certain things online for you to see it on YouTube. That takes money.
It takes money.
It takes money,
to run the
resource. It takes money to run the ship. So don't group everybody or every quote unquote church in the same bundle. A lot of times what you got to do is you have to use you call it discernment. Have a spirit of discernment to know. I mean, it's like having street sense, just to understand who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
To know if they even worthy of what you're trying. Whether are they worthy of your time, your investment of your money. Those kind of things kind of play into play. But a lot of times, a lot of people get confused.
And you gotta peep game, man. Like
you gotta peep game.
Use common sense, like you say. Like if somebody doing praise and worship, well, if somebody's in a place of
leadership
and they walk by you consistently, I give them one day because you never know what somebody going through. So
right.
if you speak and somebody don't speak, it's not always about you. Sometimes we're going through stuff.
Right.
I'm saying, but if it's a consistent thing, like every time we walking by and we speaking, like I got a rule. I got a 2-speak rule. Even at work, I'm gonna speak to you twice. If you don't, if you don't speak, bro, listen,
we had to check that real quick.
Oh my mama, I'm not speaking to you again. And I gotta work on that. That's pride. But I'm like, bro, listen, I spoke to you twice.
You didn't say
and we ain't
I'll even give you a couple of days on the third one.
Like, bro,
maybe it was just last
the
week.
Like, I got like a grace. I got like because it ain't all about us. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna get because people go through stuff. You never know what happens. I'm gonna give you like, you know what I'm saying? That third time, damn, we just gonna be two bodies walking by each other. I need to work like, bro.
Right.
Like, bro, I'm not about to keep. I'm not about to listen, bro. I'm not about to, but it's like the common sense to you, man. It's like at the same time, God showed me the true motive, like point blank period. Like I don't care, get out your feelings, because God, as a believer, God always requires us to take the high ground and sacrifice. But he's never not going to require you to take the high ground. He's going to call you to love people who not going to love you. He's going to call people, and that don't mean be their footstool.
Right.
I ain't inviting you to barbecues, you know what I'm saying? But we can't be bitter with it. I think life makes us bitter. I think if we're not careful, life can make us bitter to the point where we're not loving people.
Yeah.
Which we're not doing nothing about the faith. I think life makes a lot of us bitter.
Yeah.
Right.
As we end in it's like we get to the point where we don't even want to love people. We done been done wrong so much. We done been talked about so much, and it's like now I'm bitter. And it's like when I think that's the trick of the devil. Like once he got you bitter, you're not loving people.
Yeah.
So it's like it's over. But we done scratched this podcast out long enough. RG, but your man he held you down today. It was he did his thing. Charles did his thing. So yeah, we gonna go in. It ain't you good. You good?
I'm good. Y'all be blessed.
Charles good. Hey yo, look, this is No Labels Podcast. We out.